Last video, we started adding some JavaScript inside our functions, and we were able to use that JavaScript in our JSX in between these squiggly brackets here. So we've really covered the most beginner stuff for React, and you'll see that, by the way, React is really nice, and it'll complain about some stuff. It'll say, hey, we got some warnings here. We're not liking the things you're doing, and they'll tell you where it is. Line 2, logo is defined but never used, so gone. And now stop complaining and just tell us what's up. React, the whole ecosystem is really cool because all of this stuff just is easy to do. You don't need to learn anything that new. You're just writing JavaScript. You just have to get used to the customs that React wants you to follow. And one of the primary reasons, in my opinion, that React has become so popular is that it's just predictable and it's reliable. You can manage data in a way that lets you know exactly what's going on in your app. Have you ever heard of, what's that called? Dead reckoning? Dead reckoning. I think it's the term, a friend told me about this one time. It's when he explained to me the reason why React is better than something like just writing vanilla JavaScript or writing jQuery. He was explaining that in dead reckoning is the term used if you're in a submarine and you're way underwater. If you want to figure out exactly where you are, it's pretty much impossible. You can't see the sun. Radar and sonar is only so good. You can't really tell exactly where you are if you were to surface at that exact moment. You have a pretty good idea of how far you've gone, in which direction, but you don't know exactly where you are at any time. And so when you pop up, you're reckoning where exactly am I right now. And someone who's really good, who can keep all the information in their head perfectly, maybe they have an incredible internal map, could probably figure it out. But for most people, and for most submarines, it's just sort of a guesstimate of what exactly is going on. React works the same way. A lot of times when I'm writing vanilla JavaScript, I'm reckoning I'm pretty sure I know what all my function is doing, but I couldn't be 100% certain. What React does is it gives you the ability to internally inspect every single part of your app. You know exactly what data is being reflected in your DOM. So this DOM right here is a direct reflection of the data that we place inside the app. And I think that by itself is the best part of React. Because writing front-end applications in pure JavaScript forces you to store and access all your data in the DOM itself. And managing that can be pretty tricky for the uninitiated. React just provides you with the comfort of writing components that are interpretable, inspectable, and so it's just easy to know where your data is, what is creating it, and how it's being passed around. And so that makes tracking it way more manageable. And so what does it actually look like? How do we track our data? And so in the last lesson, we were able to use JavaScript and HTML like this. Now we're going to treat each component like a function and pass data into that function and then use it in the JSX. And this is a way to make React components more powerful, reusable, composable, whatever cool buzzword you want to apply to writing code that people love to say. And so when we do this, when we pass data to functions like this, if I were to give this function right here some information, we call this props in React. So data that is passed to a functional component like this is called props, which is, you can think of it as short for properties. And this is just data in your React component that does not change. So props, I'm just going to put some notes here at the bottom. Props is data in your component. I cannot type. That does not change. So if we were to refactor our app component and our sidebar component, we could do it like this. Instead of the sidebar having all this information right here, delete, delete, you'll see now that it's giving us a warning hey, I don't know where this is coming from. What's going on here? Let's go up to the top of our file here and find the app component. And then inside the app component, I'm just going to paste the stuff that used to be there. And instead of title, I'm going to call it sidebar title. And I'm going to keep everything else the same. Cool? Now, you see here we have the sidebar component. A really great thing that you can do is you can just pass data to the sidebar component like this. We can say, hey, this sidebar, I want your title to equal whatever the variable I created up here, sidebar title. And we can say, hey, the now is, let's just call this right now so we know it's different, right now. now is right now. Bam. And by doing this, some cool stuff happens. And I actually don't like reading components like this. I usually just do one of these kind of things, just so I can just read straight down and I know exactly what's going on. So the sidebar component's here, and we're passing it props like this. So the sidebar is now being passed an object called props with two keys, a title key and a now key. And so in our sidebar component, where we have these props right here, that props looks like this. Title with whatever the title I passed, and now with whatever the now I passed is. And so we can actually use this object right here, this props object, like this. We could say props.title and props.now. Oops. Props.now. And if I do that, and I delete this, don't need that, and I save, check it out. Let's see if anything changes. Boom, nothing changes. And so now this sidebar function's only job is to take some data passed to it as props and display that data. And this is a good example of how our DOM is just a representation of whatever data we pass to each of these functions. Yes, Jose, question. No, sort of. You know, there's a lot of like advanced. Yes, you technically probably could. There's a lot of advanced techniques that use things like render props and stuff like that that use. Okay. No, I mean, it's not a bad question. It's a really good question. You know, I think this is something like, look, Jose, you get how to do a lot of this stuff, so it's not gonna be super complicated for you. But for most of you guys, I'm guessing this is the first time you've ever seen anything that looks like React at all. True? Yeah, I know. You have no idea what's going on? That is okay. Honestly, that's fine. You know, when I first started learning React, I just sat down and I did like 30 tutorials. And I didn't understand what classes were at that time. I'd never seen like a class used before. This was like when ES6 would first come out. I just like didn't understand the props and state type thing, which we'll get into a little bit. And so it actually just took me a long time. So if you're at a place where you're like, what is going on? Don't trip. Just follow along with me, write the app. And the more you tinker with it, the more you play with it, the more you write components again and again and again, the more familiar you'll get with this stuff. So I would say don't even worry. All we're really doing here is we're just passing an object to a function. And that object we call props. And that props object has keys for the title and for right now that we display inside this sidebar function. And so honestly, the other cool thing about this is like you have to write less HTML because we don't have to write out the title. I can just write this variable here and I can pass it all over the place. Everybody will know exactly what right now is. I can pass it to the nav bar, I can pass it to the main, I can pass it to the footer. I can pass all this data wherever I need to, and I don't have to keep writing the same HTML over and over and over again. And anything that lets me write less HTML makes me happier. Cool? And so let's make that happen. Let's write some HTML. I know I hate it, but you still got to do it, right? It's actually, honestly, it's so much more fun to write JavaScript that makes HTML than it is to write the HTML itself. And so in the next video, let's make a little menu for, we can call this daily menu, right? Let's make the menu in the next video. Is that cool with you guys? And I'll paste all this into Slack right now so you can just copy it if you're lost or you mistype something so you can have it.